Welcome, everybody, back to the Play by Play podcast. This is another bonus episode where today we will be looking at the recent blockbuster trade in the NBA that saw both Karl Anthony Towns and Julius Randle swap places, with Towns heading over to New York and Julius Randle finding a home in Minnesota. I want to caution you guys, if you're watching this episode, this is only for the Knicks point of view. If you want to go ahead and see more about Julius Randle and the Minnesota Timberwolves, that episode will be posted either later today or early on tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for all your supports on all the episodes. If you guys have not already, if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, comment down below, share with your friends. And if you have not already, please feel free to follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can see my instant reactions to everything breaking news in the NBA and the NFL. And so you can also be notified whenever the podcast posts an episode. There will be all ads down below in the description, and there will be a bar popping up right here. And without further ado, guys, let's get into this. The commentary of the Knicks trade for Karl Anthony Towns starts right now. So, wow, where do we even start with this deal? First of all, I love the NBA for these reasons because this trade came out of absolutely nowhere. I had seen a little bit that the Knicks were possibly interested in going after Towns, but there was no indication that Randall was going to be on the block, and there was no real indication that there was really any talks between the two sides. And then out of nowhere, they're finalizing the deal, and then bam, Karl Anthony Towns is now officially a New York Knick. Now, if you have not seen the full details of the trade, the Knicks acquired Karl Anthony Towns from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they traded over Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a first round. Now, just going ahead and starting on that first round pick right away, just to get it out of the way, that's not really consequential to me. I'm not sure as of right now of recording this video what year that is. I'm assuming that it is within the next 3 years, so anywhere from 2024 to 2027. And if that is the case, that is fine for the Knicks. They are going to be competing for the next 3 years. They're going to be a great team. That draft pick is likely going to be at the end of the first round. It's not going to hold a lot of value. But going through the rest of the trade, for the players that were involved, Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo being swapped for Karl Anthony Towns. At first, when looking at this deal for the Knicks, I honestly said, wow, this is a huge, huge move. This is a move that you particularly look at that you could see putting the Knicks up to the level of potentially being even with Boston. But after giving it a little bit more thought, I do not believe that this move was as consequential as people truly believe. And to be honest, looking ahead, I'm not sure how much better this makes New York and how much more available Karl Anthony Towns is going to be, and probably most importantly, why New York really pulled off this trade. Now, that sounds crazy, right? Karl Anthony Towns is likely seen as a better player than Julius Randle. Karl Anthony Towns is likely seen as a more versatile player. Karl Anthony Towns just seems like the better player in this deal, right? But when you look into things, it is really interesting to see that there's not a lot that really separates these two players when putting them side by side. I mean, look at their seasons previously. Karl Anthony Towns last year had 22 points averaged per game. Julius Randle had 24. Karl Anthony Towns went on to average 8 rebounds per game. Julius Randle averaged 9. If you look at percentages, Karl Anthony Towns averaged 50% from the field last year. Julius Randle was 47%, not too far behind. Now, Cat does hold a pretty large advantage in the 3-point percentage, and I think that's really the bulk of what New York was going here. I think they wanted to completely try to spread out this team, and with having Cat, you can move Mikal Bridges likely to the 4. You could have Josh Hart at the 3. You have Jalen Brunson. OG is a little bit less on the shooting side in terms of efficiency, but you have a team that is a lot better at spreading the floor offensively and giving players and your slashers such as Brunson and Mikal Bridges a lot more room to work when driving to the basket. So that is understandable. But to say that Karl Anthony Towns is a much better player than Julius Randle, from a simple statistical standpoint, that's just not really the case here. Now, you want to talk about availability, they're also pretty much the same. Karl Anthony Towns has not had a full playing season since his first 3 years in the league. Julius Randle's first full season was in his fourth year with the Los Angeles Lakers. But I mean, since then, in the last 4 years, 71 games, 72, 77, 46, compared to Cat playing 50, 74, 29, 62. In fact, Cat has likely played less games in the last 4 years than Julius Randle has. He is simply not as reliable as Julius Randle has. So now you continue to scratch your head and think, well, why the heck did they do this? And I come to scratch my head even more because Dante DiVincenzo is in this deal. And now you promised your organization, your community, that you were going to bring back your four Villanova guys, to bring back the Villanova boys, to have that chemistry, to have that team spark. Dante DiVincenzo, not only for chemistry purposes, was a great fit in New York. He was a 3-and-D guy. He was a great spark. He was a guy that was a solid guy to stick into your starting lineup. He was a guy that could come off the bench easily. And now with him off the board, if you look at this next rotation, right now ESPN has it listed as Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Karl Anthony Towns as their starting five. But behind that, you have Miles McBride, you have Precious Achua, who did not have great performances, especially in the playoffs last year. He looked really flat and has a huge, huge weakness in shooting the basketball from the perimeter. And you have Mitchell Robinson, who likely could see some starts in the starting lineup if the Knicks want to go to a type of Timberwolves lineup where you run two bigs, which, with the athleticism of Towns and Robinson, is an advantage because they will be able to run it. But point being is New York is not having what they had in the previous year, which is the depth, which is the ability to go into games, being able to reach down in your pocket and go 7, 8, 9 men deep and run teams out of the gym, especially teams that were weak to injuries, such as we saw in their first round series against the Philadelphia 76ers. And finally, when you look into the fact that New York was already a top 7 offense in the league, defensively they were top 9 as well. When you put the fact that Karl Anthony Towns and Julius Randle, there's not a lot that goes in between them. I'm not sure if New York improves that much. And finally, if the goal is to compete with Boston, if the goal is to become level with Boston, you have to look at how you match up with Boston and how your talent is compared to Boston. Today, right before the NBA preseason, I am still taking the Boston Celtics over the New York Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns. I like their two superstars much better. I think that Boston I think that there could be some people that compete with them. I still think that the Pacers are great, that the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets are really great efficiency wise. Dallas Mavericks, if Clay can play great, they could be up there. But I still believe that the Boston Celtics are hands down the number one offense in this league. And my biggest concern for the New York Knicks is the counteraction of Kristaps Porzingis. That's the real wild card for the Boston Celtics, and that was one of the huge reasons why they were able to go in and win a championship last year was because of Porzingis' versatility, his athleticism, his ability to shoot from the outside. In my opinion, I like Randall matched up with Porzingis a lot more than I do Cat. Cat has shown a little bit of weakness defensively, especially in that quarterfinal against Denver. Like I said, Cat is not as durable as Julius Randle has been. And probably most, I feel like Julius Randle has a little bit more athleticism in his tank right now than Karl Anthony Towns, which will allow him to move on the perimeter a lot better than Karl Anthony Towns will against Porzingis. And that is the huge wild card and the huge question for the Knicks. Can they match up to that? Sure, you have a great defensive head coach. Sure, you have great defensive guys such as OG Anunoby. You bring in Cat now, who is, like I said, is okay defensively, has some deficiencies. Josh Hart is great. Jalen Brunson is great. But can you match up against the wild card? Can you give Porzingis a little run for his money? Can you stop him? Because if you can't stop him from scoring anywhere from 15 to 20 points per game, it's over. It's really over. And when you look at the fact that Boston was able to plug in players also, such as Al Horford, along with Porzingis, if Horford's in the game, Karl Anthony Towns has to guard him. Which honestly, thinking about this firsthand, again, I'm just doing this first take. That might be better for the Knicks in the end. If Horford can go up against Towns, I think you have an advantage there. And then you put a more lengthy guy on Porzingis, a guy that is much more athletic, such as Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. That could work a lot better at counteracting Porzingis. But again, that's just how Boston will look to attack you. But if they come out and they go Jaylen Brown at the 3, Jason Tatum at the 4, Porzingis at the 5, that's going to be really, really difficult to guard from an athleticism point, in my opinion. So, looking ahead, originally I really liked this deal, but giving it a little bit more thought, I just don't think that the Knicks really moved anywhere. I don't think that they got worse by any means. Maybe their depth got a little bit worse. I think that you could definitely say that. But from a starting five perspective, I don't think that they got any worse, but I don't think that they got better. So I look ahead at this deal. I see that you gave away your chemistry. I see that you gave away likely your best defender, somebody who, when you look at the statistics, is the same as the player that you got and is more durable. It's a little bit puzzling. And so, immediately on this podcast episode, again, let me know your guys' thoughts. But my grade on this deal is going to be a C plus, and that is simply because I do not see really any margin of improvement here for New York. Now they will feel free to prove me wrong. Go out this season and win much more games than they did last year. Heck, go out there and beat Boston in the conference finals, and then go on to win a championship. That is completely feasible for them. But right now, from a statistical standpoint, from a rotation standpoint, from a chemistry standpoint, I don't believe that the New York Knicks got better in this deal. And that's all for me today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Again, if you're looking for that Julius Randle Timberwolves episode, that is either going to come out later today or early morning tomorrow. Thank you guys for your support. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like down below, leave a comment, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, please feel free to follow us on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of the ads are down below, and there will be a bar popping up right here. For the new guys, I'm Diego Gallegos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.